긴장된다고?
나 심장 떨리는데 어떡해?
내가 이끌어줄게. 긴장하지 말고 해. 내가 캐해줄게. 너 뭐야?
와, 너 완전
제대로한데?
섹시했다.
나
프레쉬 캐리어.
캐리어.
샷 시킬게. 아지를 끌었어. 아지를 높을.
나이스.
이거 와줘.
와줘.
완주.
카이타 와줘. 야 미드 가자. 얘들 미드 가자.
카이트 공필 뺐어. 앞에만
앞에서 맞아줄게 봐 이거.
나 안으로 들어갈게 그냥 안으로 들어갈게 이거.
안에 들어와.
알리 노궁이야, 알리 노궁이야.
막혀있어. 싸우자. 우리 좋아.
카이사 막할게 이거.
아지를 탈진.
가이다.
봐줄게.
좋아.
봐줄게.
캐리어.
그래줄게.
여기 상체도 원래 이거 이긴 건데 아쉽다.
연준아 그 첫 판이야 너. LCK. 너 원래 잘할 수 없어 초반인데. 아쉽게 했어. 나이스.
난 데뷔 좀 피우지 받았는데.
우리 서포 캐리어.
현준이 킬 줘. 우리 현준이 킬 줘. 현준이 킬 줘.
아씨. 땡큐.
나이스.
Hello Twitch chat, I hope you've been enjoying round 2 of LCK Spring so far. I wonder, is Faker going to be playing? Is Darm1 going to lose to Fredit Breon once again? I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, here's a teaser for the Pog state. In this one, the Valdanalyst returns for more sweet Pog moments, and the Sun is back. G-Sun and Key-Sun are there with more Pog Lab, where we're going to get all sciencey stuff. Check out the new episode here on the LCK Twitch channel or over on the LCK Global YouTube channel or the audio version on Spotify, Apple, and many more. That's all for now. You can go ahead and enjoy the LCK broadcast. From the LOL state to the POG state, we'll see you soon on the POG state.
T1 is once again being a challenger to take down Damwon Kia. We had a very hyped series in the first round robin, and it's the second one here in the LCK Spring Split. But still, Damwon Kia stood very strong as the world champion. T1 brought in a lot of aggressive pick in the lanes. So Lilia was their first pick, a very versatile champion. And then we saw a very huge confidence coming out from T1. Camille and Irelia were picked at the same time for the solo laners. However, in general, Damwon Kia had a huge damage output, and also they were just so experienced in order to deal with this kind of a new move from T1. Sion, Senna, or Nautilus Maokai can be also a partner for Senna down on the bottom lane. Well, I remember that Maokai had some nerf recently, but today with this game I kind of realized this champion is actually still viable. There was a very fast first kill coming out from the bottom lane, so Beryl did not take any skill up until Yuumi hops out from his AD carry, so he took W instantly and then went in for the CC and locked her down. Maokai is a champion that can kind of interrupt most of the skills and ability from T1 with just one ultimate. So T1's aggressive picks were not aggressive enough to break down the Maokai beefy front line on the side of Damwon Kia. But first, let's take a look how Kenyan prepared his jungle path. Kenyan started off from Raptor, but then he rotates toward the blue camp. So he clears the blue and then go for Grump, because Zilia is a champion that started off on the red camp and then took the Raptors on their jungle. So because Kenyan had this information of the potential jungle path coming out from Lilia, he rotated then back to the red buff camp. And then he went to, after this, he went to the golems as well. So Lilia is a champion that rotates around from the bottom to the top side of the map and then takes the top side scuttle and then takes away the opponent's Raptor camp. But Canyon, when he was taking that red buff, he actually placed the ward over the map. So he had this information that owner will be invading his jungle. So Lilia is a champion that is known to be a great thief for the enemy's Raptor camp, but Canyon was able to even out the trade with Flash for Flash. And then he just immediately rotated down to the bottom side of the map, so he was able to also get the scuttle as well. And then smoothly he rotated down to the bottom lane and went in for a very clean turret dive. This is something that could have been prepared from the scrim, but still, I think this was a very good play coming out from Damwon Kia players. This kind of thing cannot be really planned delicately during the scrims. I think they were really good at reacting to the opponent's kind of different game plans. I was totally amazed by how Damwon Kia prepared for this and also how well they kind of reacted to T1's plan. Now let's take a look at the second highlight where Irelia for T1 went in for a miracle flank, but that didn't really work out well, so let's take a look. Damwon Kia was raising that second tier inner turret, and then Closer actually was able to find the ultimate angle, but let's see. Actually, Maokai was able to find Lilia with his ultimate, and then when Lucian was trying to follow up the action coming out from Irelia, he was actually got stunned or maybe rooted by Senna together with Lilia. So because of the accuracy of Damwon Kia players using that ability and skill shots, well, they were able to interrupt the game plan, a miracle plan to turn the game around from T1. I think all 5 Damwon Kia players were doing a fantastic work here up against T1. I think T1 also was able to find a clutch fight to turn the game around, but Damwon Kia was so strong and they were so smart, kind of interrupting their plan. And the POG will go over to Ghost on Senna. I think Damwon Kia is the team that can utilize the champion the most aggressively. And Ghost is a very intelligent AD carry. He knows how to play safely, but at the same time, he knows how to go aggressively. If you are to play Fasting Senna, you have to have a very high level of map awareness and also great synergy and skill for controlling the vision around the map. And at the same time, Ghost Senna was in a very safe position in every fight. You know, Camille was diving onto both of the carriers on the side of Damwon Kia, Ghost and Showmaker, but they all stayed outside of her range. Ghost in that last move using his snare and then flashed back. So Irelia was not able to find their target. He got rooted in that blue buff camp, and then the dead Scion, the zombie Scion, was punching her in the face. Damwon Kia, there's a reason why they are on the top of the LCK. Damwon Kia, they are continuing their winning streak here in the LCK, so let's see whether it's gonna extend till game number 2.
Thank you once again, G-Sun, for the wonderful translation of the analyst desk as we see Ghost picks up the player of the game. Had a awesome game on the Senna, even if it wasn't as obvious.
Valdez, look at that. Who's that back there walking behind the Damwon Kia players? Is that former SK Telecom T1 coach Koma?
Yes, yes it is.
As these two teams have swapped their coaches, and sure, I mean, I say swap, but like Koma came back from China after a very brief stint there after he left T1, right before they became T1. You know, it's one world championship leader returning to a team that's actually coached by the opposition, and one of the big questions people have been bringing up a lot recently is, did the coaching staff of Damwon Kia coach that team to a championship, or were the players just so good all the time? Because when you look at the new coaching staff coming over to T1, they are trying to build this team into a world-class team, but they are failing, unfortunately. I mean, very frankly, they are not living up to expectations. They have some of the most hype rookie talent that that one single team has ever had at once in the LCK in Korean League of Legends history, and yet still his talent isn't being molded yet. And it's frustrating for T1 fans to watch this happen, and we are not going to have substitutions for either squad. T1 are not going to sub Faker in, despite my shouting and calling for it. But what that tells me is this is a team that is looking to develop. This is a team that is looking to learn from this series, but not win this series. And I think that some people will be okay with that, and many people will not. Many people will say, I want T1 to beat Damwon Kia. I want to watch my team win this series. We went to Game 3 last time, and we'll see how this draft goes. We'll see how the mentality is for players like Closer and Carrier, who had such small mistakes that led to huge disastrous consequences in our first game. To get your mentality back from this point on here for T1 is a very uphill battle. And to bring us to a Game 3, to go to a third map of League of Legends, the third game of League of Legends, to use the term that people don't get upset about, would be so impressive considering how this series has started. If they could do it, this might be the most memorable series that we've had all year long of League of Legends here in Korea.
Yeah. Showmaker laughing as he bans the Aurelia. I was perusing the community in between the matches, and a lot of people were saying, get Closer out of here. He got his one-trick pony, and he wasn't even able to kill Showmaker. It was one big mistake little mistake that had huge consequences. So I think he still deserves the respect.
Yeah, no, I mean,
he played out the trade really awesomely. He had the flash. It was great.
And
right?
You call him a one-trick, fans out there, but he's 9-5 this season. That was his second career game of Aurelia professionally here in the LCK. And now it looks like he might potentially get this Lucian here in the mid into Seraphine. So they're going to grab early mid priority. And Warner seems to have still a good positive attitude going into this game based on his facial expression here as he gets the Lilia once again that he was undefeated on until this last game. So this is a great start draft-wise for T1. It's much less all-in than the previous one, and it works well with Closer's Lucian. So Kayn again
comes out. I thought maybe, the Kayn into the Lilia again. We're seeing this quite a lot. I was thinking maybe we'd see a Graves. We're gonna have Ghost playing Ezreal here, so they say no more of the. No more of the Senna here this time around, Ghost. You're back on the Ezreal, which, by the way, has a 100% win rate, 4-0 so far.
Yeah, and this will be his second game this season. He's also 1-0, so not his first time. They picked the Ezreal over the Sion, which I find interesting, as we will have, it looks like, another fasting Senna locked in here, this time for Teddy. I think the Sion ban, we need to see it here for T1. I think one of the reasons why we're seeing Kayn for Damwon Kia and Canyon in particular have so much success is because he works so well with the weak side Sion, because he can go through walls. His rotation time is faster than most jungles. He can just appear on the other side of a wall where it looks like you have kill pressure. Your opponent's jungle is trying to come in and gank, trying to lock you out, and then bam, Kayn goes through a wall and he's there. He saves the Sion. They turn the kill around. We saw it multiple times in the last game into the Camille matchup, and they banned the Azir, fair, but you've got to ban Sion here, right?
You keep saying it. I'm like, don't curse it, man. I really hope they show the respect that Sion deserves. We've been talking about it a lot, especially when it's Khan, right?
I mean, this guy's only playing Sion right now, and he's done it so well. Just don't allow this to happen. There is no, let's be frank, there's a lot of strong champions that have counters that you sometimes can ban, you can play around, but there is no, counter to Sion. They banned the Gragas, and for the same reason. But what's to stop Khan from just playing the Sion here? Even as a blind pick, it's very strong. So a little bit baffled by this choice. And coaching staff recently had an interview where they were talking about how confident they are in their drafting. They feel like that's not their weakness at all. The weakness is small in-game decisions this season so far, but I don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
well, you
it
know,
looks like another Camille Sion game to me, Valdez.
yeah. The thing is if they were going to pick the Sion away, that could potentially be a way to do it. But you know, Kana's like, okay, I guess maybe I just run it back like for like the 8th time in a row. Like, why not? You know?
How can you draft like this where you are going to give Sion the opportunity to sit up in the top lane and just farm under turret, farm even somebody safely in the middle of the lane, when he has Ezreal's same sort of global? It's not quite as quick as Senna's to help out, but he's going to have that. He's going to have Canyon's Kane again to help rescue him in the top side of the map. I think the biggest reason why I like it a little bit more this time, as we will see once again the Syndra here for Showmaker. The biggest reason why I am okay with it is because it's a Lucian matchup into one of the control mages. We now know it's Senna. So you're going to have that extremely strong priority in mid, which is going to allow Owner to actually play as aggressively as he likes to do on this Lilia. Steal camps away. It's going to be much safer than what we saw from the failed attempts on the Irelia mid. So I like that so much more.
I'm so happy we don't see Tom Kench. If you throw Keria on Yumi and then Tom Kench 2 games in a row, you're I don't know. I don't know what to say. Nautilus, again, it's another one of these things where it's just going to be a tank that farms alongside of the Senna that is fasting, most likely. We'll have to wait and see what they do go for it, but I don't know. The Maokai was available as well. That was another consideration. As we may have, okay, there it is. I thought maybe we had a swap bug, or were we actually going to get Seraphine into Camille and go straight into game 3? Not the case here, as Sion will be, of course, in the top lane.
Seraphine Ezreal is going to be really awesome too into the Senna, because what you can do is you can just harass constantly and push those waves, which puts the pressure on Nautilus to last hit minions under turret, and it's a lot harder for him to do that versus an AD. So fasting Senna will have a little bit of a problem in this case in terms of maximizing the value out of the gold in the lane. I want to mention that there is kill pressure with this as well on the bottom side of the map, but I like the Lucian into the Syndra way more than I liked previously, obviously, the Irelia into Victor, because you have this pushing power and this lane power that's not based on all-ins. It's just based on the matchup. So this means that Wonder should be able to find a little bit more aggression in the jungle. They might be able to put some pressure on Khan. But the fact that they gave him the Sion makes that so much more difficult to execute. So even though I do like this draft a lot more than the previous one here for T1, I still don't like how they got to the end of it.
Yeah, and Dalmon Kia get a lot of different pieces that are really big on their side. As we are going to jump onto the Rift here for game number 2. Match 56. Dalmon Kia up against T1. We're hoping for a bit more of a balanced game. I don't want to see anyone just randomly hopping off as Yumi and dying, and Beryl just laughing at you as he twisted advances and takes your life away, or any kind of weird flashes. I just want to have a straightforward game. We wanted this to be a great series. Game 1 kind of took a little bit of the wind out because it felt like an obvious ending after a really rough beginning for T1. So let's see if they can kind of calm things down. You know, kind of the points we were making before about, you know, maybe getting some more of the veterans in the lineup so that they can calm things down and be more focused. But we'll have to wait and see if these young guys can just settle down and play their game.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're not familiar with T1's players, Wonder is the player to the top right in the cameras there. Learn his face, because I think we're going to be seeing a lot of him for the rest of this year. And he seems to have a really good positive attitude despite that previous loss. And the draft priority both games has been around him on this Lilia pick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, clearly the team trusts in him, and I think that's why we're seeing this, you know, what I've called version 7, 7th variation of the T1 roster, the longest and the most consistent of the rosters they've used so far. So, I mean, he's got a good, you know, positive mental attitude, as we like to say, so far in this game. And I'm not trying to say that just because Closer follow flashed and died that like he's just going to be tilted necessarily. That's not a thing. But you bring if you want to win this series, I think you bring a veteran in, and you can't just. It's also not okay to tell Closer that like, you know, you made a small mistake there, but we still have faith in you to win this series. I think sometimes coaches have to make tough calls if they want to win a best of 3. You want to learn in the best of 3? Maybe this is how you do it. That's my take. Right? Everyone's got different opinions. I think there's probably like 2 million different opinions about T1 out there, but
There's always fun with the T1 matches. We always get a lot of bajillion different opinions on a lot of different subjects, so that's always great to see.
And here's what I was talking about is, you know, not Nocturne, excuse me. The Nautilus is going to be farming under turret.
Okay, they're actually going to go ahead and ignite here. You can see the roots are plentiful from Teddy and Keria. It's not enough to kill him, but they will at least trade the flash of the Seraphine away for just heal and ignite from the side of T1 spot lane.
Yep. Okay,
Ooh, that's another great hook here, and Ghost might just be in trouble.
I think he is. He's going to have another hook in a second.
The problem is that he baits Beryl into this one. As you can see, a lot of damage being put forward. They're actually able to turn this one around. Keria and Teddy just turn tail, and they don't finish the job. They don't have the ignite to push the damage, and they respect the ignite from Beryl, as well as the Ghost heal. And wow, what a crazy close trade. That looked like it was Teddy and Keria's way, but at the end of the day, Beryl and Ghost were able to survive.
I mean, Ghost is like, it almost made it look like him. I was trying to say, you know, as you ran into that play, like, oh man, that positional mistake there could cost him big, right? Like, he walked right into Dredgeline range, but it almost looked like it was on purpose, you know, with how he utilized it there. He's even going to buy, they're going to buy potions here for more sustain in the lane, because Keria's had such a great Nautilus defense here. And only a little bit behind in CS, frankly, given where we were and how pushed up that wave was. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so I wanted to settle things down, but we had a,
Yeah,
a very
sure.
crazy start to the bottom lane.
And, you know, this is a really interesting almost passing of the torch kind of series potentially here, right? Where Damwon Kia are actually on a 5-series winning streak against T1. Like,
yeah.
They have been extremely successful since they came into the LCK at this this matchup versus T1. And T1, SKT, well, this closer is like, well, this is the matchup that Wolf was talking about earlier. We're just going to try to zap people. This is a team, SK Telecom T1, that is the most famous League of Legends team of all time.
Oh, the flash. Closer nearly
Closer,
makes it
let me
happen.
narrative, man!
No, you're not allowed, Wolf. Only action. Showmaker does survive a really quick response with his own flash, so he's able to get out of dodge, but you can see what Lucian is able to pull off in this lane.
Yeah. I mean, that's why you pick this. That's why it's becoming more popular again. This is not rocket science. We saw this a lot last year, too. It's just making a big comeback right now with the AP jungle pool.
Wow. So is denying that back and giving... Okay, wait, we have a hook in the bottom lane and a root follow-up. This is part of the Nautilus Senna lane. And you can see that the second that combo ends, Beryl and Ghost immediately try to trade as much as possible because that's where a lot of the power comes from Nautilus Senna, those two roots. But
Yeah.
man, the flash play to deny the good back from closer, I don't know if that's... I mean... Obviously, it's great. It feels great for Showmaker, right? But you lose your flash as the Kayn early. I don't know. Interesting
I
decision.
think it's okay. I mean, it's not... Obviously, it didn't work out the way that I would have liked. It might have been able to do a little bit more there, but I think it's okay because most of your job as Kayn in this game is to be a defensive ganker, to counter gank against... I mean, not even counter gank, but to be defensive against all-ins from closer. Be defensive against all-ins from Zeus, so... I think the flash is not going to be too important in those because he can simply go through walls and rotate over. I don't think it's going to be too huge of a loss, but I mean, it feels bad that he traded it there, and I don't know if it was worth it necessarily, but it's not like it's going to ruin his game plan here, I don't think. But yeah, to go back to... well, hold, I thought I don't want to go back to it yet.
Oh, that was close. Dredgeline is dodged, and Beryl just kind of laughs at them, and now Canyon is down here. Gonna spot this going on.
Yes,
Wonder.
6.
Thinking about getting in there. He's going to put the double sleep down. But look at all the heals and shields. Do they have the burst? Yes, they do. But here comes Canyon looking to get something on the back of this. He's going to get a Dark Harvest, but that is about it. As you will have to turn tail now. The root goes down onto Ghost.
Closer's here.
Closer's here. Oh, no. This
got
could
ult.
be desperate for the side of Damwon Kia. The two of them will be taken out as the dive is perfect. And the timing is pristine from closer to pick up those two.
That was so well handled by the bot duo of T1. You really love to see this trust that they have in the jungler as well. And, you know, we talk about Wonder as a rookie player and how successful he's been on the Lilia, but this champion just oozes synergy with every lane and the priority that they've had in mid lane that allows him to play this aggressively. He's just playing this so well, and he gets the double sleep, and they're able to get so much out of this. And like I was saying, Canyon's here for counter gank, right? A little bit slow to the party here this time, unfortunately. But that's his whole game plan, that's his whole MO. You have to sleep like parallels right into, or parlays right into the dredge line. And then Canyon's like, uh-oh, I'm getting a little bit low. And this whole time, rotation down from Closer, and there's just no way out, unfortunately. Closer's just gonna go right over the wall. And they think they're safe under turret here, but obviously we know that's not true. And it's just a full wipe of the whole bottom side. 3 kills for T1.
Yeah, and that's a problem. That is a problem for DKㅣ. T1 have opened up this game really nicely. They get their Lucian ahead, 1-0-1. The Lilia is going to be out of control now. Already 2-0 ahead on farm. And Canyon, you know, we talked about the flash play in the mid lane. But now even that, you know, the failed counter gank, the fact that he dies, he loses a lot of time farming. He's not able to pick up a single kill to further his chance at hitting his next stance here, his next form. And, you know, when you have this big of a lead in the jungle, say goodbye to the Rift Herald. That's not yours anymore. DKㅣ T1 will easily scoop that one up.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately for Zeus, he hasn't been able to make anything happen. He's played fairly passively in the top side of the map during all of this because obviously the big focus this game has been on the bottom side of the map. You know that Canyon is down there, so maybe you could make something happen, but Khan has been playing this top lane so safely that he hasn't had any opportunities for all-ins or kills up here that requires a response, because he can't really do it alone in this matchup. Against the Gragas, maybe, but they banned that one instead. They play against the Scion, so Zeus hasn't gotten too much out of this. That's the one kind of redeeming factor here, I guess, for DKㅣ in this early part of the game. But, I mean, this game has been very much going the way that T1 planned it to, which is a big and great fresh breath of air.
Breath of fresh air.
It's been a very nice Zelda Breath of the Wild here at the, in Game 2.
Indeed.
Still waiting on that sequel, but we have a sequel to Game 1 here in this series, and it's much better. It's big improvements they've made.
Yeah, and I mean, anything that makes a Game 3 happen, I'm happy with that, if that's a sequel or whatever. As here comes the Seraphine ultimate. Canyon is here this time around. He's looking for Teddy, and he should have the damage. A huge wipe of the two of them, but now the teleports come in. They're trying to get on top of Ghost, and the damage is enough for Closer, as Canyon is way too deep under that turret. Double kill again to Warner here. As Showmaker is thinking about it, he's going to keep them at range as he is the Syndra. But man, T1 able to convert that one, a 2-for-1 in favor of them.
Yeah, so well played by T1. I mean, that team fight was so fast, if you blinked, you probably missed it. I mean, it started off with extreme damage output on both sides. You saw the True Shot barrage going through at the beginning, and then they turned the T1 turned this around with a really nice rotation down from Closer yet again, which is made possible due to that lane priority, which is why this Lucian pick has made teams look so out of control in terms of their skirmishes around objectives and on the bottom side of the map. So Beryl is spotted right away, and then he gets his charm off. Ghost actually True Shot barrages immediately, but Teddy dodges it. And there's so much damage out put here for Canyon that it looks like, okay, this fight is over. But then Closer shows up, right? He's able to come here unpunished to match Showmaker's rotation. And this is just where the fight ends, because Showmaker can't actually, his cooldowns are too long, and you see that arrival of Warner stays there. But T1 are getting a really nice edge in this game, and with 4 kills on Warner at the moment, and already his Leandri is completed, these ganks become even scarier.
Yeah. He gets his Leandri so early, as you mentioned, which just accelerates the Zhonya's. That should be next, I would imagine, especially up against the Kayn Syndra. He's just going to be such a menace. I mean, how are you going to deal with this insane amount of damage this early on is a big question if you're DKㅣ. This is a really fantastic lead that T1 have gained for themselves. And they're going to want to wait it out, They want to wait until The Kayn hits his next form. The Ezreal gets farmed up a bit. But T1, they're not wasting any time. They got the Rift Herald earlier on. Looks like they want to feed that over to Closer. Don't mind that at all. As Canyon waiting in the wings, but guess what? Take a look at the minimap. The rotation is coming in here from the side of T1, but Teddy is going to get isolated on the right side here. As Sion is the one teleporting in, he's going to be able to survive for a very long time. As Canyon getting burst down on the left side. Will eventually go down, I'd imagine, as they're trying to get on top of Beryl, but Zeus goes extremely low. Will be able to pick up that kill finally. And now we got a 3-on-3 as a huge hook comes out from Keria. He's able to isolate Showmaker. And look at Wonder just running around the fight. Nobody can do any damage to this insanely fed Lilia.
I mean, he's just doing so much. He doesn't have his sleep anymore, so I don't think he can obviously push the issue any further here. Well, I say that. It's going to force a flash.
There you go. Even the Sion is scared against 6-0 Lilia.
And these trades are just trade ups for T1. I mean, we're going to go back to the beginning of this where we all started. Beryl ends up missing the root. Then you see this hook come through. But Teddy is all alone, and he just gets burst down. But it doesn't matter because Wonder is here. And Teddy actually buys so much time that Closer gets to rotate over, and the True Shot barrage is just so negligible at this point. Keria gets the knock up, and there's just too much damage here. Once Wonder and Closer are in this fight, it just simply doesn't matter. Then Zeus has this insane Hextech ultimatum outplay, so he guarantees the kill there onto Beryl. And then Wonder's like, I'm still here, by the way. How many Qs can I get in this fight? Like, show me the team fight damage stats.
Yeah.
Like, he did so much. And he forces a flash here at the end, actually. We're not going to show it, but so well played.
Yeah. And the fact that the hook goes down onto Showmaker means that Showmaker can't sit in the back line and force the Lilia away. The second you get the Syndra in the back side of the fight super low and basically dead, you just open up so much potential for the Lilia to continue just prancing around as she does.
Yeah.
And that was really the highlight moment for me. Keria just kind of smurfing there at that moment in time.
Teddy also, I mean, he died, and he was the first to go down in the fight, but the way he kited back and survived for so long, had a good ult, like, he actually helped allow that positional advantage to come through for T1, allowed Wonder to actually safely get into position to do all that damage as, you know, Khan zoned out, as you mentioned. And now they're just kind of trying to run away with this lead that they have. They have a 3,000 gold lead. Lilia is 3,000 gold ahead, almost, in this game herself. So T1 are just trying to get every single objective they can on the map.
Ooh, he's going to land that one, and I think Closer might be dead. Yeah, see you later. Unleash that power, and it's as easy as that. He's only built up the Merc Treads for defensive items, so this might be an opportunity for Damonkia to actually convert onto Shirley here. That's going to come down to a smite fight. That one will go to Canyon, and this is the first step, you know? A weaker team would just kind of sit back here behind and say, well, shucks, what can we do? But Damonkia seems like they always find a way. It doesn't matter what team they're against. We'll see what they can do with this.
I mean, they punish Closer, right? He doesn't have his Gale Force yet. He gets caught. You make a small mistake like that around the Rift Herald fight, it's going to cost you the Rift Herald itself. It's really smart macro game here. As Khan is just so good at this champion. I mean, I didn't remember when they could have banned Sound and they didn't. Yeah, I remember that. That happened just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Happened about 16 minutes ago.
The thing is that he's great at, oh man.
Defensive ganks!
He's baited him so hard yet again. And the Senna ultimate is just laughable at this point. How about Canyon picks up another kill?
That's the whole, this is the pairing I'm talking about. You want to talk about synergy in the bottom lane, you want to talk about like what works well with Damonkia's draft. I'm like, Khan is just unkillable in this matchup, and then if Zeus tries to push the issue, then Canyon just goes through a wall and kills him. Yeah. Like we've already watched this happen before.
Oh, Keria is angry. He's going to be able to pick up another kill for his team. No flash available for Showmaker there, as now getting a little bit too deep this time around is Wonder, or has he? He's burning down, but he will survive, and Beryl is going to be the one that actually goes down at the end of it all.
That was actually so well played by everyone on T1 involved. Keria with the hook. They commit in deep. Wonder knows he's going to live. And then Keria just goes right around the edge to make sure that he gets that follow-up hook off, and Closer is ready for the follow-through. Commits his flash, but it's worth it. It guarantees a kill. Now he's back down here saving a turret. What a big turnaround here for Closer in this second game. Closer and Wonder both who've had some small mistakes that ended up giving Damwon Kia such a massive win in that first game. This time around, totally different story.
Absolutely.
Keria is like, he's playing angry, it almost feels like you said.
Keria is just an insane player. Like, say what you will about the Yuumi play, stuff happens. He's fine. Let's see what they can do on a dive here against Khan. Can they actually kill the Scion? They say no.
Not with no minions.
And you know what the crazy thing is that if they ban Scion, he's playing Gragas in this game. And
yeah.
He probably would have been doing a very similar thing up in the top lane. So Khan is just the rock that they needed in the tops. I mean, they had Nuggery, but a different kind of player. It's great in his own fashion.
They're defensive top laners and they're aggressive ones. Khan is a defensive top laner, generally speaking.
Okay. That's a lot of damage.
A lot of damage and clears the minion wave, so just guarantees that that's the end of that. I mean, this has been, again, really good defensive play around Khan from Damwon Kia. Like, for like the 18th time in a row, it feels like. But actually, like, 9th time in a row, I think. So, I'm going to watch this one more time here in the mid lane. So this was a really sick play from Keria. He has flash forward the minions that are there, so he can just hook through. Showmaker goes down, and then Wonder's like, oh, I'm going to steal these. Barrel's like, ha ha ha! Charm coming through. And sure, they end up trading a lot of damage back, but they just don't have enough to kill Wonder, and they know it too. They're like, uh-oh, he's got sleep. And then Keria goes just to the left of the wall, threads the needle perfectly. Closer has the follow-up flash to secure the kill.
Keep in mind that there was no ultimate for the Kayn, but also Wonder had a stopwatch. So even if there was an ultimate, you can avoid that damage, and probably the Kayn dies anyway. So Canyon did the right thing by just trying to back away. It kind of looked a little bit sheepish, but that's what he had to do. Either they were going to burst him down there and force a stopwatch, or they were never going to get that kill with all of T1 around. So, nice little bait from Wonder. He knows how far ahead he is. I mean, he's the highest level in the game. As, well, Damwon Kia using a bunch of stuff. Another insane hook from Keria. Here comes Scion in the back line, but where's the follow-up? Everybody on the side of Damwon Kia is backing away.
Closer.
Closer is just going on an expedition here. Where is he going?
Oh, no.
Khan does a great job of zoning the rest of the team out so that they can't follow Closer on his exploration of the Wild Wild West.
I mean, I respect Closer's decision to rotate around like that because there was no one to lock him down. And actually, it forced Damwon Kia to back off in the fight. Obviously, Khan got left in the dust, but he did his function in the fight well. It ends up being a 1-for-1 trade, so nothing too bad here for Damwon Kia, but Closer might have been able to make that a 2-for-1. It's very close. Well played there from Showmaker to prevent that from happening. Nice respect. As we'll watch, this is a tale of two players, right? Khan and Closer. As the Charm goes completely wide, and Khan is zoning everybody out. Closer's here trying to secure this kill on a Showmaker. Keria turns back around because they're trying to catch Khan, and they are successful, but the trade-off is, that Showmaker, or rather Closer can't get the kill here. There's too much damage. So it's a 1-for-1.
I mean, he didn't have too many options. He could have tried to run southeast, right? Below the dragon, but he was pretty much committed after using his ultimate there. So it is what it is. He kind of had an awkward angle there after teleporting in. Tried to make the best of it. And by the way, you talked about the Gale Force. He went for the bow in this case up against the Syndra.
I think it's pretty good considering too the amount of lockdown that Damwon Kia have that could potentially lead to his death, his demise if he gets burst down after one of these stuns hits. Like the Scion ultimate coming through, or a Scatter the Weak, or a Seraphine Charm helps survive through that potentially, then he does a lot of damage. And Teddy, is going towards his Rage Blade. He's going to have that fairly soon. That's a lot of damage output that T1 are going to have later on in this game. So just guaranteeing that they're surviving enough to do the massive damage they have, because they don't have a real traditional frontline in this game, I think is pretty safe. Because, Gale Force would have been nice in that last moment, right, where he's like chasing Showmaker. Otherwise, in a straight up 5v5, I do like this choice of the Immortal Shield Ball. Speaking of items, by the way, look at the items for Wonder here. He's gotten his Oblivion Orb. He went double mask, Demonic Embrace. He does so much damage, has great heal deny.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
He just accelerates his build so much with this. And, you know, when you've got a stopwatch, you don't need the Zhonyas. As they're trying to get on top of Keria here, the root not quite there, but the knockup is, as Senna's ultimate will help out. This is a gigantic sleep. Can they get something from this? Barrel gets the charm off, but Khan, he doesn't really have the support from his team. Canyon and Ghost not able to get on in there as well, and Showmaker was in the top lane pushing, so T1 catch him out. Get a couple kills.
Hey, the series is delivering, Valdez. The script came true. T1 having such a great... Ooh, that was Casper Chris maybe for a second there, but T1 having such great team synergy here on every rotation they make. Keria's Nautilus together with Wonder here on these sleeps with the Lilia, setting up so much. I mean, it's really reminiscent of what we've seen so much with Zoe Thresh, for example, but a lot more deadly in this case because Wonder is a 705 Lilia.
Yeah. He's kind of insane. I like T1's decision not to go for the Baron there. You're up against insane poke from the Kayn, which, when you think about that, the Shadow Assassin Kayn just has insane poke. That's a lot of the reason why Canyon and pro teams are playing it so much.
Yeah.
You're so fast, you just zip in and out, and you do insane poke damage. And the Ezreal and Syndra. So you just don't want to get poked out there and take a chance.
This is a proactive play from Khan, right? He comes through, but they just part like the Red Sea. Then he gets locked down, ult to save Keria, not even necessary here. And then Wonder comes in and he's like, no, triple sleep. No damage here from Ghost. No damage in this fight whatsoever. He W's and doesn't even hit.
Yeah.
Doesn't even hit, and that's 2 kills off of a really proactive attempt here from Khan. But the reaction was so good from T1. They did not get caught with their pants down. They reacted so quickly, even though they didn't have vision. And of course, Zeus does have to flash, and they don't feel comfortable Baroning after this, as you mentioned, but Khan's looking for it again.
Yeah, he's back over there. And with a very weak tier 1 turret for T1, they do have to be a bit respectful, especially if not everybody is there. Like, I know Wonder is fed out of his mind, but at the same time, got to be careful about the hard engage that Damwon Kia do have. And this game is pretty interesting. You know, I don't think it's over by any means, right? The early game and mid game have been pretty much dominated by T1. But there are some tools on the side of Damwon Kia. They have some pretty insane poke.
Yeah.
When you just look at the bottom side,
and
like literally everybody.
If anyone gets caught out of position too for T1, they have a very squishy team composition. Like, Wonder didn't even build Zhonyas. You know, you talked about it, he had a stopwatch. Remember that stopwatch you were talking about he could have used earlier?
Still got it.
He still has it?
Yeah.
So, like, why even build Zhonyas? He just finished Morel and Elmacon instead.
Yeah.
Because he still has the stopwatch, so why even care? He could build the Zhonyas later if he wants to, if we go to a really late game, which Damwon Kia is really hoping for.
Ooh. Zeus calling him out. He's like, I know you're in that brush. And eventually, you know, right now, doesn't look like Zeus can actually just straight up 1v1 him, but eventually.
He will. I mean, yeah, eventually he will. And right now, you know, obviously he knows that most of Damwon Kia is nearby, so he's not even going to keep trading. There's a turret here. But yeah, this is a really big force to be reckoned with in terms of split pushing. So even if Damwon Kia starts to win fights, there's so many ways that Zeus and T1 could just avoid that, because Gozer also has really strong pushing power on the solution pick, as we can see here, and he's got a blast cone to get out of here. I see Barrel like, maybe just not stick around.
I'll see myself out.
Yeah.
Zeus just chilling with the blue buff. Yeah. For now, if you get hit by something like that, you just kind of have to back off, farm it out. And with the turret there, it does make Khan a little bit safer to just stick by that one. We might have a little bit of a lull state here. I think these Infernal Drakes are going to be big for both teams. Obviously, it feels like we've said that every game, but in this one as well, there's just a lot of guys that would love that scaling damage.
Okay, Zeus caught here, but there's a huge minion wave. Like, Khan is alone here, by no means safe. Yeah, he needs to back away. No one's even nearby.
That's a nice little objective to pick up right before this Infernal Drake fight.
Yeah, and they're going to have total vision control over this Drake. They even have this ward here in the river, as well as that, you know, regular traditional ward down to the bottom of the red buff pit. So Damwon Kia has no ability to flank here. Khan has already used, I mean, he's already...
Optimus Prime over here,
Yeah.
zooming in.
Like, I don't know if he's going to be able to have a strong engage just straight up at the front line like this.
Okay, Zave's spotted though. That's pretty big. It's moving towards Canyon, and it is going to go the way of Canyon. That is just so big. Keria will be trying to force this engage now. But you can see that Damwon Kia aren't necessarily
Sleep.
trying to get in. That's
Oh my
another
God.
huge sleep. It is massive. A huge charm comes in, but I don't think it's enough. They get on top of Ghost, but the damage follow-up is massive from Canyon. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough, though. Wonder finally uses that stopwatch and just totally negates it. And this is why Damwon Kia did not want to fight. T1 will wipe the floor with them and will win that team fight in a big match.
I mean, Damwon Kia are so lucky that they got that Drake. They are so lucky they were able to make that happen. But now it's going to be Baron. This is going to be way better. And the sleep from Wonder, who's had a perfect game, 7-0 and 10 in this game right now, who did finally break his stopwatch.
Yeah.
It's great. Now watch this. Watch this retreat. Okay, where is Wonder right now? He's like zooming forward. He's like, I'm getting in there. He's like, oh, wait for this, guys. Bowling ball hits, and it is going to be a triple sleep. And then what happens, Showmaker actually has a really nice play here as he hits a huge Scatter the Weak. And that's when the True Shot Barrage connects as well. Then you see Canyon go through, and he's got tons of damage, but they still can't do it. Look at the damage coming out from Teddy. Look at it, it's
and
insane.
closer, the two of them.
And Keria has a great depth charge as well. To follow it up, the flash is amazing. T1 with a perfect team fight here, all things considered. Wow.
Yeah.
This game has become very exciting.
It's hard to defeat Damwon Kia in team fights, but they find a way to do it. And just give the player of the game to Wonder already. Just write it down on that paper, because this guy, if they win, which it's looking pretty likely at this point, he deserves it, absolutely. And we'll see. I mean, where do we go from here? Because things are kind of getting out of control. The Lilia, we already mentioned her so many times, completes that Zonya's right after you use the stopwatch, just fine.
Insta-buy, all in one go.
Yeah, no problem there.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, where, like you said, where do we go from here? What fights can Damwon Kia hope to take? At least they slowed down this whole point. But, I mean, with the slow amount of Drakes they're taking, I mean, only 3 Drakes 30 minutes into the game. You know, that's not the issue. The issue now is, like, can you save your inhibitors? You really just have to sit back and play this slow as Damwon Kia. If they don't lose any inhibitors here, then everything resets, and they still have a very strong team fight composition with the CC they have, and you can see how much, if you end up hitting a big Scion ult into Scatter the Weak, True Shot Barrage connects, plus Ezreal's damage output at this stage of the game is really high.
Canyon wants it. He wants to get on top of that Camille. You can see already the amount of damage that he can do, but Senna immediately there. He didn't want to push that far up the lane, so.
Yeah, and it's still a win here for Damwon Kia, actually, to push them back. That's going to eat a lot of that Baron clock.
I don't know what Kana's doing this far up. Looks like he might just die. They're chipping away through that shield, and finally he'll be forced to flash away.
Barrel's like, I'm not dying, you're dying. Barrel tanked it for a little while there.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this is eating through the Baron clock. So, I mean, that's all you could do right now if you're Damwon Kia. They're looking for another potential pick on the Zeus here.
No. Good read. They have enough vision to see that coming, and so Zeus just backs away. They'll be able to use the last of this Baron buff, I would imagine, to take this inhibitor. As another gigantic hood hits Showmaker in the front, and now Ghost is in so much trouble as he will go down as well, and it looks like we are going to a game number 3. The game everybody wanted to see, as Khan will be wrecked at the end of it all as well, and T1 will push on for the victory.
What an insane turnaround from T1 to have such a pathetically bad, I mean very weak game number 1. Huge mistakes in the early game that lead to an insanely dominant start for Damwon Kia, and yet these rookie players keep their mentality strong. These rookie players do not get shaken, as I suggested they might. They do not put Faker in, and these guys are able to turn this series around. And whether they win this series, whether they walk away taking the second win this season against Damwon Kia or not, this is a very impressive moment. This is perhaps the best moment for T1 this year in 2021, is to be able to safely and calmly bring back the second game with a draft that was, again, fairly risky but executed so well against. They left the Scion open, like they gave the Scion. The Kayn comes through, and they're like, okay, well, we can't do anything on the top side. They dominated the bottom side of the map. And I mean, I just submitted my player of the game. I think a lot of people are looking at, right now, the jungle player Wonder for T1. But Keria, I mean, we have to talk about this guy's performance. I know you've been a big fan of his. You were like the original Keria fan, and he showed up big.
The hipster Keria fan, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people were impressed with his original play, his initial play as a rookie, but he only gets better. Like a fine wine, he has been he's been performing really, really well as the years come by, and yeah, just an awesome game on the Nautilus. I think they just absolutely trashed that bottom side of the map, right? As you mentioned, the rotations were perfect, the timing was perfect, and when you get that far ahead, you shut down the Seraphine build from getting too out of hand, you make the Ezreal struggle to get his build online, and you're just getting everybody fed on the side of your team as well. So just really nicely played from the side of T1, and this only means great things now that we get a Game 3 between a team that has risen to the challenge and actually has shown that they can challenge DKㅣ Kia.
This is what I expected to see in this series. It's a really close series with really nice drafting, and this team, this roster 7 for T1 looks to be by far the best. And I know a lot of people said, well, they're 4-0 against Nongshim and against Live Sandbox, so Wolf, I mean, where are you going with this? Game 1, there were some very glaring mistakes, so we didn't even get to see a game, right? This is the first real game we see in this series for T1 where they actually play the comp the way they're supposed to, and it wasn't free of hardships, right? It was not an easy second game. But, like, if they don't make those mistakes, they trade flashes or they get a flash ahead right in the first game, maybe that first game looks a little bit more like this one. We are living in a world where T1 could upset DKㅣ Kia. It is possible. The hype is real.
Well, they already have one win under their belt. All they need is one more. We'll find out after the break who will remain victorious. We'll see you then.
going to keep the Zoe alive, but Cloud9 now funnel in. Sven going to be on a killing spree as he takes down Smoothie, and it looks like absolute carnage here as Cloud9 are going to run over the rest of CLG, but Finn actually has found a way back through. He's going to get the knock up on the Perks, and Turtle also fighting back at CLG in a 2v2. It's a triple kill for Turtle. It's a quadra kill for Turtle, and CLG have turned it back around, and as Turtle grabs the pentakill.
They want to end this game, but Toby, he wants to say no. He puts on that back massager onto the Scion, and it's barely even that because it is Scion. That is a big sleep, though. They're going to find the Kalista in the front line, and she's just going to go down into that Guardian Angel, fighting front to back here. That's a massive shield. Look at Death. He gets into the back line, and he's going to shut everybody down, and I think that's just going to end this game here. Death is able to just sweep everybody into the dumpster.
Então o Titã tem que chegar para poder castigar, não deixar todo o time da MTZ bater no Jojo. Olha o Flash, consegue atordoar, força o Flash do outro lado, o Jojo vai apanhando muito, embaixo da torre, tá lá! Tira a mão do Micão! Fica o confronto agora, o Micão contra o Titã, o Micão quer levar mais uma, e na experiência contra a novidade, o Titã vai levar melhor!
Uno por C les da pie para ir por el varón, pero están un poco tocados y podría ser un 50-50, aunque hoy no esté muy finutiano.
Muy peligro, Atención con esto porque Odi va a intentar robarlo. No lo asegura Mighty Bear. Pero atención con esto porque Zeus asegura un doble asesinato. Odi muy tocado, sale bien con el destello. Siguen cayendo los jugadores. Termina siendo un exterminio para el equipo de Rainbow Seven.
And with one more dragon to go, that's a 25-minute mountain soul. Neon takes a gigantic... Oh, there it is again! Oh!
That is beautiful!
The snipe from downtown!
팀이 본격적인 서력전에 나섰습니다. 2세트 승리하면서 3세트를 준비하게 됐는데요.
They took game number 2, and T1 was able to outplay the opponent based on the power level and the damage output from the top side of the map. Even though they let Peru to play Seraphine in Damwon Kia, still they were able to secure Lucian for another strong lane game. In the end, it was a little bit different in order, but still T1 was able to match the picks of the opponent. And we had a very similar comp, just like game number 1. The picks coming from the bottom lane was very impressive. Especially the Nautilus. Well, Senna in the past patch was not a pick that could push the lane, and most of the time her waves was getting always shoved in under the turret. And this time around, with this split footwork, we could see the kind of stance that they really wanted to go hard in the laning phase. And thanks to that, we saw a very typical storyline with Seraphine down on the bottom lane. This champion is really weak into a hook champion, and also this champion starts to fall apart when she gets ganked, often by jungler. And Kayn kind of matched the speed of Lilia, but still Kayn was not able to outplay Lilia. And T1 was able to kind of win bottom lane even though they were not meant to win from the get-go. I guess taking away the spot of Tomkins and filling it in with Nautilus was really effective. So we had the message coming from Nautilus. He is not a support, you know, in this game. He is a AD carry even with the footwork rune. So he was able to tank so much damage, and then he was able to re-engage. And Lilia K answered back with massive sleep onto the opponent. Keria held it on to the very last moment to use his flash to survive. A very perfect and clean performance coming out from that support player on that AD carry role this time around. Even though he was getting chased down and engaged, he was able to use all his ability to absorb the damage and also move back to the back line. Teddy's Senna was actually trying to reset, so he was actually covering up with the ultimate from the base. But still, Keria was remaining calm, and they were able to turn the fight around with that re-engagement from Owner. Speaking of Owner, he also had a pop-up game in this game once again on Lilia. So let's take a look at this replay. The Swirl Seed is always finding the opponent, so he got his Dragon stolen, so let's see how he reacts to this. Three-man Swirl Seed and another babysitter of the LCK, putting 3 of the players to sleep. Let's see how T1 moves here. They all dashes and flashes forward. You know, they are, I guess, moving as one team. So they wanted to close out the gap onto the opponent's players who were put to sleep. So they were able to lock down all the kills without hesitating to dash onto the opponents. And Lilia built Zhonya's as a 4th item, which reflects the amount of confidence this player has. Lilia was able to participate in a lot of fights, and T1 was falling a little bit behind, or they were losing tempo for Drake, which means Lilia was able to scale enough. So which means Lilia was pretty fat. He has to stay intact, but Owner still went for that Zhonya for the 4th item because he was just so confident in his performance today. Let's see if we can also get the POG, or whether it's gonna be a different player. It's gonna be Keria actually picking up the POG. I think Keria and Owner were the standouts in this game for sure, the side of T1. I'm pretty sure this will be a very close POG vote, so let's check out the vote results later on as well.
어떤 느낌이냐면 저는
I think in this game, Owner,
짧은 판에서 실수 없이
he
자신의
played
역할을 100%
the
너무
game
잘
really
했어요.
well when the things were set up, whereas Keria was actually was able to make outplays, and he was the one setting up all those
이번 경기 승리에 있어서 확실히 중심이
miracle plays. I think, in conclusion, two players were the key card for T1's success in Game 2. Keria was doing a lot of work in this game. He was the main engage, but at the same time, he was the carry on the side of the bottom lane of T1 as well. And Keria is also joining the 5 POG club now. He is climbing up the ladder slowly but surely. With that Nautilus play, he was able to even out or tie up with a lot of different players on that POG standings in the LCK. I heard six of the players are tied up for that 500 POG points, and yeah, very close competition, 4 versus 5. But Keria was able to get one more vote for this POG. Now we're heading over to the decider game between T1 versus Damwon Kia. Let's check out whether it's gonna be T1's round 1 revenge or whether it's gonna be Damwon Kia's endless success.
Thank you once again, G-Sun, for the awesome translation there of the analyst desk. And guys, we are just about ready to hop into game number 3. We'll have to go through the pick ban and see what changes. Perhaps a Lilia ban? Do they take away the Nautilus? Both Lunner and Keria just had kind of the games of their lives in that last one.
I mean, they really did. I mean, the POG vote was split right down the middle. Ended up being Keria taking it at the end of the day, but I think there's a lot of discussion even in the T1 house right now about what Warner would play if it is banned away or taken away by Damwon Kia, but they will have blue side pick. They will have the first pick in this third game here, so something to keep in mind. Canyon has not played a single game of Lilia this season. It's not in his wheelhouse. Not a champion he likes to play. If he's going to play, you know, the AP jungle, likes to play in Italy, likes to play the Talia instead. Obviously the latter very significantly nerfed, not as meta anymore, but Damwon Kia, they still had a pretty good game too. Like, it was not, they didn't just roll over and die. They had some really nice team fights. There was some really good synergy around the Ezreal. There's some counter engages, the Scion pick with the Kayn. Strong combo once again. But I cannot overstate how impressive it is for a team of rookies. I mean, a team that has so many rookies, right? It's not completely rookies, but a team of very young players like T1 to bounce back after a loss like the one they had in Game 1. They have the most critical fan base, perhaps in esports history, and and yet they keep their composure. That's well, that's what speaks volumes about these players, their integrity, their confidence, more than anything else.
Yeah, it's huge, and you need something like that after game number 1. Otherwise, you're just another one of those teams in line to just get 2-0 clapped by Damwon Kia. But T1 said no, we will not go just yet. As we're getting into the bans here, Udyr and Thresh going to be the ones that started off, same as game 1. Into the Senna this time.
This screams that T1 want to first pick the Lilia. They could even potentially ban away. I mean, they could ban a Gnar here, or they can ban, you know, Kai'Sa. It's a strong ban either way. That third and final ban for Damwon Kia, I mean, that's the really big statement Damwon's going to make. Are they just going to say, okay, we're okay with you playing Lilia once more. We want to take this in a different direction. There's the Kai'Sa ban I was talking about. Like, this is it. You make a call here, Damwon Kia, because you've already had to deal with this Lilia player twice now. The first game, it's even though they were there, it is.
Yeah.
Because even in the first game where things looked rough, like Warner made a huge impact on what was a very losing game from the start.
Yeah.
And like, you've got to respect that. And you know, they'd rather deal with the Rel, just blind here, than deal with the Lilia.
Rel and Seraphine still available. Did Damwon Kia say Seraphine wasn't the problem and we run it back? Or do they look elsewhere? Because the Ezreal Seraphine kind of feels like they picked the Ezreal to go into the lane with the Seraphine, but at the end of the day, it was the lane that kind of got dumped on in that last game. And I'm not saying that Seraphine is a bad champion, quite the opposite. but you might want to just switch it up.
I think the Alistair is the best counter to the Rel, and it has the best win rate in the LCK in terms of matchups into Rel at the moment. So even though the Seraphine is open, it could still be played in the mid lane, potentially. Not for Damwon Kia here with Canyon picking up the Nidalee, I don't think, but still something to consider, as we'll see Graves actually picked into this for Wunner. So maybe the second time he plays it actually in the LCK. And there's the Samira pairing here for Teddy. Not really a go-to pick for him. And this does move away from the identity of T1's bot lane, because Carry is kind of a one-man show. Oftentimes he's a big roamer, likes to go around the map, likes to play deep into the jungle. And Rel is a champ where you can't do that alone. You need someone to be tethered to. So this is going to be more of a focus on the laning phase and the duo. You're going to see a lot higher duo proximity in this game for Keria. So big departure from what we've seen from T1 so far, where they were trying to explode and get an early tempo lead in games 1 and 2. In game 3, the Samira is still looking for that tempo advantage, but not as directly. Not as blatantly, right? I mean, you're not looking for crazy dives and solo kills and stuff like that.
The Xayah comes out here from Ghost. If we swapped the rosters, I wouldn't have been surprised to see Teddy on that pick. He's very well known for that, but Ghost gonna try his hand at it as Orianna is taken off the board. They know that, you know, with the Graves jungle, there's a much less chance that they're gonna go ahead and pick some kind of AD mid, so you want to take away some of those control mages.
I wonder if Closer will just consider playing a Victor or even a Zoe here with the bans that we see. I like the Azir ban a lot because that's something that can lock down a lot of the champions that are left open here for Closer to play, and can make it very difficult for him to be a playmaker in that mid lane. And I mean, you know, Showmaker's not famous for his Azir, but he's a good Azir player. So Damwon Kia's next ban here is going to tell us a lot. If they ban away something like the Syndra, you know, this could be like a Yone game for Showmaker.
Well, I almost just feel like we're going to see Syndra in that 4th pick for Damwon Kia. It's like it's just the champion that Showmaker plays, right? He doesn't really play anything else right now, so.
You know, what about a Lucian ban here? Ban the Scion. This is where they ban the Scion. I'm like, well, I don't this one's all right, but because like you have Nidalee as your AP jungler. We don't know what the top lane's damage profile is going to be just yet, but you know, even if you blind pick Lucian here, I think it's not a bad pick. You can of course have it as your final pick. Also, the Yone is very strong for tempo. But they're looking for the Seraphine that you were talking about. That's going to give them a lot of extra healing in team fights and a lot of staying power throughout those early skirmishes. I don't dislike this.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. This does give the option for T1 to pick something very aggressive in the mid lane and try to shut it down. But again, with the Graves in the jungle.
A Kali question mark?
Yeah, like, you know, it's something like that maybe. They're still even considering the Lucian run back. And then draft some kind of AP into the top lane. Gragas still available, but it's going to be Ryze, actually. Okay.
Yeah. It's a pretty stable matchup. And then you can just play... I mean, I was going to say you could still play something safe like the Gragas on the top lane, but with the, you know, AP damage in mid, can definitely go towards something like a Camille, which Zeus has had fantastic plays on, you know, and he's looked very clean here. You already banned the Scion away, so it's a lot easier this time. And you talked about it last time, like, okay, you ban the Scion, he's going to play Gragas probably, right? Ooh, to play GP would actually be so crazy.
Riven?
No way.
I don't know if this is the game where you pull that out.
I don't know if you play GP here either, though. I mean, you're going to scale so well, but things can actually get out of hand. You feel a little bit safer dealing with Wunner's Graves because he doesn't have CC, he doesn't have lockdown to kill you in the top side of the map. And if Canyon can match those rotations and have some defensive presence on the top side, I don't think Khan will necessarily die. But this is not his style of play. He likes to play tanks. He likes to play defensively. He likes to just sit back and defend against Camille by farming under turret. I mean, half the time it feels like. So this is a big departure from him playstyle-wise, and it feels like a heavy risk that Damwon Kia didn't necessarily have to take.
Kind of like the atmosphere going on in the T1 house, right? Everybody's got a smile on. Everybody's looking relaxed, right? You can throw a fake smile on and you won't look relaxed. They all look actually legitimately relaxed in there, which is good to see going into a Game 3. This is high pressure for everybody on the side of T1 and Dom1 Kia. You look at the side of Dom1 Kia, they look a lot more nervous and pressured, and they don't want to drop this one.
Yeah.
T1, they want to make the rest of their season clean.
Yeah, there's a lot more pressure here as the the favored team going into this, especially after that Game 1, and then you lost your momentum in Game 2, and in Game 3, this draft is not very Dom1 Kia-esque, right? There's a lot of pressure on Khan here. I mean, to make a case for the Gangplank, you do have 2 sources of AP damage. You want to keep your damage profile varied to a certain extent. Obviously, Gangplank is going to offer a lot more damage in the late game. Seraphine, not so much. She's going to be able to give you a lot of support, a lot of engaged tools, but you are missing a lot of damage. It's not something like an Orion that's going to have big burst damage, or something like a Syndra, Azir. So I think that's the reason why they go for it, but very risky, Valdez.
Pretty interesting one coming into game number 3 here. It does feel like this could be a close one here in this third and final game. The GP and the Xayah, when you consider it alongside of the Seraphine's support in the late game, the healing from Canyon and the burst from him, as well as some frontline and engage from Beryl, does feel pretty nice as the game does come along. But then you look at the side of T1 and you're like, well, they have some really insane scaling in late game as well, especially their split push. We've seen crazy stuff done by Ryze Camille in the past, in a similar vein of like TF Camille, except obviously Ryze can't teleport as far. But you can do some plays where you 1-3-1, or maybe you just like secretly have Ryze walk up and then you do 2v1 counter in the split push lane, and then you just take an inhibitor too fast for the enemy team to react. They have some really crazy late game plays on the side of T1 as well, not to mention Sumira Graves that can also scale very nicely in their own right.
Well, level 1 Khan is going to be very happy to shoot some guns, swing some swords.
Yeah.
As soon as the shield goes up, he walks away, we go back. 11-4 on the champion. He's 1-1 this season. Again, his identity has changed quite significantly in this roster. He's played more of a defensive top lane. In the aggressive top lane, he's played most of his career. And the meta has changed, and the team is playing around that type of style, so especially if you're going to give away champions like Camille, that's how you have to play. But this Gangplank into the Camille, Zanilli is going to put a lot of extra pressure on Canyon to kind of hover around this top side of the map. That's my take on this. I mean, we'll see how it plays out in reality.
Taking a look at the Beryl's win rate as we watch the top lane matchup. His Alistar is pretty insane. This is the champion he made his name on first, and he's going to engage down here onto Keria. Not going to get any significant damage done. But yeah, Beryl over in the 2019 Worlds come out, and everybody's like, holy crap, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And 2020 is really when he turned it on, especially in summer. After NSC, where he said he practiced during the entirety of the break, non-stop. And he became the best support there for a while. He's known for his Pantheon.
Yeah, that
was his crazy roaming.
Yeah, that was like one of his really big signature picks towards the end of last year. So far, obviously in the early parts of this matchup, Gangplank is just going to kind of dunk on the Camille. It's very frustrating to deal with. If Khan is able to turn this into something with this Nidalee rotation that's coming up right now, then, you get an early Sheen, and then suddenly it's like, uh-oh. Like, we don't even have to talk about the Camille in this game anymore for a long time. But Wonder is here as well. Gonna grab this Scuttle, Canyon is, but just gonna be a very defensive start here for Zeus, and we'll see how this transitions away from here.
It'll be interesting to watch the mid lane matchup as well, as we're trying to get a root down, but that will be avoided. Khan is running through the jungle and gets spotted there by Wonder, who stops his back to attempt to do a little bit of damage there. But Khan seems pretty unbothered, and he's actually stopping the back of Wonder multiple times, giving Canyon the double scuttle.
Yeah, this is the idea. You slow this down, you look for a double scuttle, and then obviously Nidalee has insane clear time in the jungle, so you make small advantages like this, and you could suddenly turn them into big ones. So you could suddenly turn this into a big farm lead. Or for a jungler who's going to struggle, obviously, in this game with Khan playing the Gangplank, there's no lockdown, there's no easy way to make a gank happen on the top side of the map. And the bottom matchup isn't going to be conducive to that at this stage either, so This is a really cool play from Khan and really nice communication in terms of how they want to set this macro lead up. It was risky, but it was well coordinated.
Yeah. And you mentioned, you know, Khan's style nowadays is a lot of tanks, right? He's kind of been on weak side tank duty for a while here for Damwon Kia, but this guy, he made his name with the Jace, right? He was always like a carry player that was kind of in the vein of an Uggery, where he would just like kind of overextend and go super aggressive and get himself in trouble sometimes, but was very obviously a crazy mechanically skilled player. So he has it in his wheelhouse, although we haven't seen it in a while. As we're going to have the engage down on the bottom side. That is not the spear Canyon was looking for. They're still trying to get on top of Keria, though, and it looks like there will be enough damage, as Keria did not have flash. As another spear lands here, and Canyon misses the jump. Even after the spear, maybe he was just barely out of range, but at least he still gets that poke damage onto onto Teddy.
Very well played. Warner is just going to trade back a camp here. Showmaker is like, I'm not going to make this easy for you. They're really pushing the issue. They know Teddy is still here. He started backing in vision and then stopped. There's really zoning him out of a lot of experience right now. And a lot of just minions in general. Like Ghost is up 15 CS as all these waves crash through. So really nice start here in terms of Damwon Kia's early game and jungle presence. His ult gets it.
Khan is up against the wall. This is not where you want to be against the Graves, as the damage, he has to stick around to make sure he gets the kill.
Canyon
will sacrifice himself for it. Oh, the spear lands through the minions, as Zeus is going to have to flash away and hook shot. And the spear this time will not land. But man, Canyon forces the flash out and puts on an immense amount of pressure.
So well played here on the top side of the map from Khan and Canyon to match the rotation. But a really big misjudge.
You're still here?
Oh, this is not over yet. Max range spear?
Yep. Sees him backing. Down you go, Zeus. That is not a safe place to back. Got to respect the fact that Canyon could still be there, and a great read from Canyon to pick up another kill.
Wow, Damwon Kia are not messing around in this third game.
Yeah.
Oh, Canyon! Oh, this is like I took the Lilia away and I get to play the game again.
Canyon went into the community threads and he saw those comments that were like, Canyon got Canyoned, LOL. And he's so angry now. He's back. He's back with a vengeance.
And this is, I mean, just several really nice macro plays, as this is going to be really nice lockdown from Barrel. Makes a big headbutt into the wall. Pulverized follow-up, and then Keria is follow-through stunned here. And there's just too much damage. And they look for more here onto Teddy, but he is able to escape just barely. Had to flash. And then this is actually a small misjudge on the damage. And they have to stay, as Khan is just trading back a lot. And then Wonder's like, okay, I got this. Wait, no, that's not quite enough. And then he still doesn't have enough.
Yeah.
So he ends up trading back here, and then Canyon sticks around. We're probably going to like fast forward a million years. There we go. And then Zeus backs here behind the minions, set up in the brush, so it's an easy spear. And then the leap combo, pouncing on him.
Yeah. Note that Canyon was able to see Zeus backing there, but Canyon then went around the vision perfectly. So he knows exactly, you know, where he can walk so that he can land that spear. Probably would have gotten the kill anyway, but...
Yeah, and you can see Keria likes to roam, you know, he likes to try to clear out vision around things like this and try to set it for individual plays. But on the rel, it's hard to do that alone, you know, and he sees the Drake is being taken, he puts a control ward down and removes some vision. But Damwon Kia are not concerned about this whatsoever. Now, he is going to make the rotation over here to the Rift Herald. This was well done.
Yeah, so T1, even after all the topside shenanigans, they're still saying that we can take the Rift Herald away. And they started it pretty early on. They get that smoke screen down. That's going to be good. So T1 do pick it up. And Beryl, he's not even level 6, so he just throws his life away, trying to zone them off of the eye. Keep in mind, Teddy's getting free farm in the bottom lane while this is going on. So this is definitely a nice win for T1, even if they don't get the eye.
Yeah, this is definitely well played. And a lot of this comes from Keria's long-distance roam and the setup they had there, Canyon's rotation. You know, he rushed as fast as those cat paws were going to take him over there to try to get that, but unsuccessful. They defend the eye, but the damage is done in the bottom lane. I mean, can't overstate like what the value Teddy is getting there is.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're going to go to a bit of a lull state here because obviously now the objectives are gone and things are going to reset for a second, but both teams have had some really nice decisions in this game. As we're going to watch this again, you could see right now Canyon's just nowhere near for a smite. Beryl gets picked for this, but they do deny the eye. But the bottom lane, that's where the real action is. That's the real trade, as you pointed out.
Yeah, you know you get the gold from the Rift Heralds. The one thing they miss out on is, of course, the Ocean Drake. Look at this, Kanya he's so good at baiting this. I mean, this has been multiple times in a row now, although they don't have the lockdown and there's a teleport coming in. Doesn't look like Damwon noticed it, and now here's Closer. Thinking about getting on in there, but at the end of the day,
too many
actually
minions.
Doesn't get in there.
Yeah, it's just too risky to get in there and try to commit. Ends up using his teleport, which is slightly unfortunate, but trying to turn things around. I was like, who's baiting who here, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the question there for a second, but no plays to be made. This is a much slower paced game than our first games because in games 1 and 2, T1 were playing hyper tempo based aggression into trying to get very massive leads. The first game, obviously, that fell flat on its face, but in the second game, they found great success with it. This is the slowest draft that they have in terms of what it's able to do on the map. So it is a very slow-paced game where we're going to see small skirmishes, but nothing crazy in the lanes.
All right, Engage comes down here. Beryl has everything available. Those feathers from the Feather Storm, unfortunately, don't line up, but gets him to safety.
Canyon's here, but I don't think they can turn this on its head.
They must have seen that spear, and they do ping it, in fact. As he's still here. Level 9, by the way, to level 8 of Wunner. Just trying to poke them away, but finally we have a giant spear into the back of the Rel. And this is just like a shooting gallery. The Canyon's literally just standing here throwing spears. Like, that's it.
Yeah, Seraphine's rotated over. She has ult. Careful, Teddy.
Oh, the stun is big on the Attract Repel there. Going to deny the follow-up from Beryl, but the charm does come in. Where's the follow-up? As that's a 3-man root, but the damage comes in from Teddy. Can't quite catch up to Beryl, though, as that's going to be going over to Canyon. And also Showmaker picked up the kill onto Closer. And so, 2 kills now for Damwon. They're thinking about diving and picking up a couple more.
With the minion wave crashing in here, they're definitely going to go for it.
Yeah, Beryl gets in there. He's going to be ignited down. That's 2 kills to the Rel at the end of it all. As now Zeus comes in with his teleport. A little bit lackluster there. But at least will deny them from pushing any further.
Wow, this is some very aggressive League of Legends, Valdez.
He's still here. Kenyon's still here throwing spears.
The spear actually might have killed him, or given him the opportunity to finish him off. Just barely is able to back and get away. No relief down here on the bottom side. It's going to stay till the last minion falls for Damwon, but ends up being a pretty crazy exchange. We'll watch it again. Beryl actually hits this headbutt and is caught by the Attract Repel stun. That was actually a very scary moment for Damwon. But Showmaker is here faster, unfortunately, and the charm is good. Teddy follows through trying to catch up with the Beryl, but he handles it so well. And they collapse down, and Damwon just get the better end of this. So we're going to watch this once more. I mean, once the minion wave hits, like, you just go for this.
Yeah.
Ends up being a double kill for Rel, so a little bit sloppy here for Damwon, but they still get the better trade at the end of things.
Yeah, it's kind of rough to dive when your Alistar has about 100 health.
Yeah.
But they really wanted to squeeze the last bit of juice out of the orange, if you will, right? They were trying to get as much value as possible.
I think it's, I think the Alistar dive there was a little bit overzealous, and it does give T1 back a little bit, but it was 2 kills onto a Rel, so it still ended up being a very nice exchange from the bottom side of the map. Just maybe a little bit, maybe could have walked away at that moment.
Yeah, perhaps. Not seeming to be Damwon style in this game. They seem to have no chill at all in game number 3. Coming back with a vengeance. And just want to point out that we've had 10 games in a row now with no Cloud Soul. Because we had 5 yesterday with no Cloud Soul, 5 today. No Cloud Soul. So seems like our luck over here at the LCK is turning around. And this is a pretty cute maneuver by T1. They just push the Graves up top lane and very traditionally just push a lane. No Rift Herald, just getting straight up damage onto the turret, and they take down 4 plates.
Very aggressive here. This Keria trying to look for that Hex Flash play. Not going to happen, as we just trade plates and trade turrets here. As simple as that at this stage of the game. You know, the rotational power for both these teams a little bit, they're just kind of caught in terms of like almost checkmate in terms of defending. So it's actually faster to just simply trade and attack. So we end up with even plates, 4-4 here. Obviously all the plates for DKㅣ on the bottom side and T1-3 on the top. So as 14 minutes are hit, gold lead here, only 1,000 for DKㅣ, in part due to that failed second follow-up on the bottom side of the map. But they have had really nice control of the game. If you look at where the gold is, it's mostly on this Nidalee, right? Canyon has had a fantastic early game. Now he's got his Night Harvester done, and he has a lot of damage that he can continue to try to snowball this game with. And they have objective lead 2-0 on Drakes. But I think you kind of wish the gold was elsewhere. You know, Nidalee's can carry. But, you know, if it was on to someone like Ghost, then you could feel a lot better about this.
Yeah. You know, Ghost got some good gold as well. Obviously didn't pick up all the kills, but he's farming very well down on the bottom side, and that pressure helps out with that anyway. So it's good, you know. I think they'd like some more on the GP. Seems like that top lane has had so much action that there hasn't been as much CS farming, if you will.
Canyon gets this, by the way, with all the pressure in mid.
Yeah.
Just alone, and that's doesn't want to fight him.
Closer's just bottom side as a huge engage comes in, but the knockup from Beryl is massive. But now Closer gets onto that back line as Ghost is still alive for an incredibly long amount of time. Somehow, some way, thought he was definitely dead. Here comes Teddy. Not quite able to follow it up as we're going real deep here. Beryl gets everybody at T1 have massively overextended under the turret. Wow.
I mean, you have to respect the Alistar. You can't just walk forward like that. He will punish you. And he does. This turret, there's no minions here, so it's really unfortunate. Ghost is going to have to slow motion take it out here. We're going to watch this like incredibly slow take of the turret. Please don't cut away, observers. I want to see it go down. There we go. But what an overextension after what was a fantastic start to the team fight here. As, okay, you're trying to take a turret down, you're DKㅣ, you're caught here. And then Keria makes the call, goes in with a big Magnet Storm, has the Attract Repel, and you can see DKㅣ dealing everything they can to try to deal for this. Closer teleports in. He's here with the lockdown. The root is good, actually, onto the backline, but unfortunately it's not enough damage to kill Ghost. And then this is when Teddy's like, okay, I'm ulting, we're going. And Zaya says, I'm hookshotting in. Beryl's like, nah. Just flashes right in, gets a knockup, then the headbutt, and sends him to Timbuktu.
And they didn't kill Ghost. He was able to just line them up. Like, if they don't have a Zaya, then maybe, yeah, the Alistar knocks you up and then you kill him anyway, right? But
yeah,
they still had Seraphine Zaya, who are both very fed. Like, the call there, I understand you're getting excited with the Rise, but... And that's not the first Rise ultimate we've seen be very aggressive. He did the same thing in the bottom lane, too, where he went straight into the Seraphine, got charmed, and died without doing anything.
Yeah.
Because Showmaker got there first, right? So, you gotta be careful with these Rise ultimates.
I mean, it was cool. Like, it was one of those really mechanical-looking plays where you're like, wow, that's impressive, Closer. You know, didn't know you had that in you, but decision-making wise, like, it was mechanically impressive to see him rotate in at that exact perfect angle with the teleport. I'd love to see the wind wall block there. But, you know, unfortunately, the decision itself is flawed.
Oh, I wanted to see if he got the cannon.
I think
we're not going to, though. But this is a lot more important. Shirley coming down the mid lane. You talked about Canyon picking up the Rift Heralds here.
Yeah.
Actually does open up yet another turret.
Second charge, maybe?
And Closer's just like, you know, whatever. I don't team fight anymore. I only split push. See you guys later.
Yeah, and I mean, the second charge is good. They're actually going to get an inhibitor turret.
Beryl's tanking, and he finds the engage. That is a dead Keria. DKㅣ are just so clean with this. And look at that damage onto Teddy as well. They're getting so much out of this push. It's only 19 minutes in, and they're not stopping.
I don't think you can end here, though, if you're DKㅣ.
Okay.
I think you really need to, you need to slow down for a second.
I was getting excited. I'm like, whoa, no way. They can still back off to the Infernal Drake. The TP is going top. That's Camille.
Yeah, and I mean, they're going to try to get this turret out. Closer pushed this all the way up here for him.
Yeah.
And this is going to force DKㅣ to back. But they're still, I mean, they're not fully backing, and they're still going to get this Drake. Like, I think the idea with this teleport is, okay, they got to back and deal with this, but because the clear time is so quick and because they reacted so quickly and backed away so early, they still get the Drake regardless, and all Zeus gets is a top turret, which is fine, but watch Barrel, man, the man of the hour. Comes through, he's tanking the turret and then sees Keria on the side, sets up the pulverize, and the collapse is real. The turret goes down so quickly, so there's no fear of any follow-up punishes.
Yeah, because he stops the backdoor buff from coming in by tanking it up and makes it happen while the crash down is being attempted from Keria. And I kind of like the teleport up to the top side. You know, you may think it's just a teleport trade for a tier 2 turret. That might not matter, but it actually matters a lot when you're playing as T1's composition. We mentioned it in the beginning of the game, right? This is one of their win conditions, right? The split push with Ryze Camille is just insanity.
Yeah.
And you can see that Dom and Kia are desperately trying to just group up and push as much as possible to deny this. And they're going to send Khan down to the bottom side now because he does have teleport, but you know, getting a turret like that on the top side, that just gets you one step closer to
threatening inhibitors, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then threatening the Nexus. So those are things that you can do if you're T1 now that mean that, okay, maybe we don't have Baron vision control for now, but this play is going to get us there. It's going to force a reaction.
And this is what I was talking about before. You send the Camille over, but I mean, they might need to start respecting Dalmonkia a little bit sooner here because they're just brute forcing so many objectives right now.
What's scary here for me, for T1, is they don't have vision on the
Khan is dead. He can't do anything here. The 2v1 is just too much.
But will they stop the Baron? I just don't think they can. And like,
no,
I think you're okay with this if you're Dom1 Kia.
I don't even think they'll try.
They don't have any vision of this whatsoever, and they're coming over, but like, and the pings are coming through, but they're just so late.
Oh, they're actually trying. It's a little bit too little too late, as you mentioned. Beryl gets the big engage. And Dom1, I think you just got to get out of here with the teleports being considered as Showmaker trying to fight front to back. Keria does make the play happen, but Beryl is tanking so much in the front line. He will go down at the end of it all. You can see T1 are backing off. Zeus has another idea in mind as he was thinking about landing that hook shot.
Look at the damage for Closer.
Closer's doing so much here. The teleport now coming in as Water goes a little bit too deep. Now Zeus trying to get the backline, but he gets blown up, and Closer can't do it either. And Teddy alone tries to make the miracle happen. He might just be able to, but not quite, as Ghost will survive until the very end of the fight.
I mean, look at the Nexus here. The Nexus turret's under fire with his mid inhibitor. It's Keria alone who tries to slow this down. It's a Gangplank and a Xayah that are here, so they're not going to be able to end from this at the moment. But this was so disjointed, what we saw from T1, unfortunately, in the last parts of that fight. Now, yeah, sure, they killed Khan, but Khan is not, he's not surprised. He's not shocked by this. And Dom1 here already on the Baron, right? Beryl slows down the rotation over, so they're guaranteed. They're trying this. Now, the damage output is so real here for Closer throughout this fight. Keria sets up the play to go in, but then he falls, and then T1 have two different ideas here. As everyone else backs away, Zeus decides he's going in, and you can see a huge disconnect here in terms of the communication on T1, and once Closer goes in, they're like, well, I guess we are going in then, in fact.
Canyon, man.
Such a great Zonia's there from Canyon.
Perfect.
And then they just have too much damage, and sure, it's a trade here, which is what keeps T1 into this game, but a big communication issue is Teddy gets the kill on the Showmaker, not able to kill Ghost, one auto away. This is Immortal Shield Bow was already on cooldown.
May have even denied the Inferno trigger by dodging that ability. I mean, Showmaker's fancy feet work there. It's pretty cool to see that pulled off.
Pings coming down here for Dom1 Kia. Someone has to go back to deal with this potential split push.
Actually, it's Zeus who's backing. He says, I'm not going to take the trade right now, and
yeah, you don't win this race, I'm afraid. So even though there was a ping for Dom1 Kia, they decide they don't care, actually. They're just going to look for an inhibitor here.
I almost would have liked to see him try for the inhibitor, because I think even with Zeus here, I don't know if you can take a 5v5, right? So you might as well just try to trade the inhibitor, but instead they just lose one.
They're trying to catch anyone who rotates too fast, too far, but look at the vision control here for Dom1 Kia. Like, you don't have any idea as to where anybody is right now if you're T1. T1 is going to look for the Drake positional advantage, but with these Baron minions pushing through, the super minions as well, like, you can't get the fast track here.
Why did Ghost back? He's got to get back here. I mean, the Infernal fight is going to be pretty big.
I think they're...
But again, you got to stop this push.
I think they're okay, because unfortunately T1 don't have any way to get anything on the map. Like, they're just messing around with a mid turret at this moment in time. So Dom1 Kia do have plenty of time, and Yikes.
Oh, there.
Okay, I don't know about this one.
Right on top of a cannon barrage, and also Beryl gets the engage. Keria is just dead, but at least Wonder got the dragon, but it's still going to be just a massive death circle for the side of T1. They all die, and Damwon Kia with that ace will take game number 3.
Damwon Kia come in with a very strong early game. Canyon's Lily pick gets them so ahead early on, and they're just able to turn this into such a massive lead. It becomes insurmountable. T1 with some flashy plays around the Baron pit, but at the end of the day, there was a big disconnect in communication in these last few fights. And sure, they group up for the Rise teleport into the Drake pit, but I don't think anybody thought that was going to go well. And at the end of the day, they get out-macroed, outplayed by Damwon Kia, who will take their 11th win in a shaky series, but a win nonetheless.
Oh, they wanted more, and they're not going to get it. Keria will survive, but it doesn't matter because T1 will go down to Damwon Kia here, who do take the 2-1 victory. You can see almost sighs of relief from a lot of the players here, especially Showmakers, where I saw the biggest one. Some sad faces here on the side of T1, but it was a close series. I felt like that last Rise Ultimate was just like a witness me, right? From Mad Max. It's like all 5 of them together, like, please witness me, we tried hard. But
I can't agree with the choice.
Pretty desperate, yeah.
But I mean, sure, desperate times call for desperate measures, and maybe the surprise factor. If you think that Damwon Kia are going to get out of position or somebody's going to get picked, maybe you believe in it. But T1, I think no one is concerned about how they played this game despite being behind. I think everyone's very impressed with how they played game 2. I think if you're a T1 fan, you're going to have to unfortunately keep going back to game 1, right? This is one of those games that you'll never forget. The follow flash in the mid lane, the disconnect from Keria on the bottom side of the map where he untethered and died. Like, that was a draft that looked really good for them, and despite the mistakes, like, they still almost were able to pull back that early game until they really doubled down on trying to get advantage and things fell apart. But, like, I feel like in an alternate universe, that first game 1 draft is really good for T1. If they played it better, they played it safe, they win that game, then maybe they 2-0 the series, won't even talk about a third game. But at the same time, I think what the biggest takeaway for T1 is, like, the fans are going to be frustrated about game 1. You lose the series, feels like, oh, we're so close. But it's another game 3 against Damwon Kia, and where we were before at the beginning of round 1, the first round, and now where we are in round 2, like, the amount of growth we've seen, the identity has changed, and T1 actually have an identity. We saw them go to game 3 against Damwon Kia, then they played 5 other rosters, and then it's the 7th one that they settle on here. It's the 7th one they almost beat Damwon Kia with. And if you're a T1 fan, at least maybe you could settle down and feel like, this is it, this is the roster we got to stick with. The coaching staff seems to have already decided.
Yeah, I like it. The fact that they have that close of a series, even after kind of botching game 1, as you mentioned, right? Had game 1 not happened, we would have just been going into a game 3 after 2 really close games. Like, even T1 in that last one, like, they put up a good showing. I think some of the decisions on the split pushes could have been slightly better, but again, it's like split-second decision-making. That's one of the hardest comps to play, especially when you're not just doing 1-3-1 from ahead. It's like you're behind and you're trying to, like, set up 2v1s and then coming back and forcing 5v4s, and it's like, it's not easy, guys. Like, that is just really difficult to pull off, so I just want to give them props, right? At the end of this day, I still feel like, okay, Damwon Kia are, again, still the best team here in Korea by a pretty big margin, right? They've had some stumbles, but they take a rough series here, or at least, it's not an easy win for them is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
And they get the win at least.
They get the win at the end of the day. They looked a little bit stressed out and nervous going to that third game, but they prevail, right? And Damwon Kia has only taken 1 loss against the weakest team in the league at the time, Fred Brion. But every other time they're pushed to the brink, they stay calm, they stay collected. We're going to jump into our highlights from that final game, but I mean, Damwon Kia, they are a team that it feels like, deficit or no, they play the same. They play to their best. Like, they're not a team that gets shaken. And that was what I was impressed by in game 2, especially from T1, is these rookie players also weren't shaken. They were able to bring it back, which is what made this a scary series. As this was a really sad moment, unfortunately, for Wonder. He's like, oh, you're so low. Oh, and then you still are. I have to die now because, like, I'm gonna die regardless of Canyon's here. So
Canyon just had the insane game 3. Okay.
Yeah.
This guy, like, this is why, right? He was World's MVP as well, because even through all the hardship, he kind of got gapped a bit in game number 2, right? He comes back and he looks so angry and has one of the best games we've seen in a while, right? insane stuff from him. This is very crucial. You see Ghost doesn't die, and also Canyon gets the pick on the oneer on the left side. So then it kind of sets up this 4v3 where it looks strong for T1, but then they remember Alistair exists.
Yeah.
They run straight into Xayah, who just lines up the feathers and laughs at
I mean, Alistair just like ready to flash in, pulverize, and then headbutt back.
Yeah.
I will say, you know, we've been seeing Teddy on late game carries throughout this entirety of the season for the most part, ever since he came in over Gamuzi, and he's been kind of the staple AD now. But this is his first game of Samira this season, and I guess his first career game of Samira because she wasn't out before that, right? So I thought his Samira was really impressive, actually. And if they weren't as behind as they were, some of the plays that he made clutch that ended up looking amazing, like this one in particular is one that really stands out to me. Was if he was ahead and they were fed or they were in a massive lead, like his Samira is clean, right?
Yeah, he wasn't really enabled at all in this game.
Yeah.
Right? His support kept dying in the bottom side, and then this was kind of hilarious at the end. Like,
they have so many ways to lock you down in that pit. You just kind of, I mean, it was a really flashy looking surrender button almost. It felt like this.
Exactly. You know, it was just one of those situations where it's like, well, if we just give Infernal Soul, we lose anyway. But I feel like there were actually options in this comp that they had this time that it wasn't just GG from the Infernal Soul. You can try to avoid fights against Damwon Kia. Maybe. It wasn't going to look good, right? But I think I would have liked to see something else than that flashy surrender button.
Yeah, me too. You know, unfortunately we didn't, but I was hoping for more. I was hoping that maybe T1 could pull some miracle defense off, but one thing you notice in this, as we watch comms, which is not a lot being said here. Killer. One thing I noticed is as everyone on Damwon Kia looks relieved and everyone's yelling and hyped, like there's one person who tilts his head in disappointment, and it's the player who carried this game, Canyon.
Yeah.
He was definitely not happy with Damwon Kia's performance in this best of 3. And when everyone else was cheering, he was the sobering head shaker who said, like, guys, this is not a series to celebrate.
He's always very calm and collected, and I think at the end of that one, he was just pondering what he could have done even better, or at least that's what I'd like to imagine he was thinking. As you see the damage numbers here, Ghost had a quietly really nice game as well, had the most damage, survived in spots where a lot of other AD carries would have been too slow and just died, and was definitely doing great work for his team.
Can I just have one request? Like, I know I'm the new LCK commentator, and like I don't have that much clout yet, and
we won't get you ice cream after the cast, Wolf. We already talked about this.
Can T1 fans be okay with this loss today? Can I actually look into the camera in a second here? Maybe I'm not going to get a camera shot before we go. Okay.
Oh, you will.
I look at the camera. Can I ask T1 fans, can you guys be okay with this loss today? You guys almost beat the world champions the second time, and yes, game 1 was terrible, and yes, there were issues. But I know a lot of you guys want to see Faker, but can we actually be okay with this roster looking the cleanest that T1 has looked all season? Can we actually be okay with that? Can we be okay with T1 finally finding their identity? Can we not be typing frantically on the internet right now about whose fault it is? Is the coaching fault? Like, I wish LS, like, why didn't he coach? Like, what's going on? Like, can the furious typing just stop for a second? Could everyone just be like, wow, like, this is a moment where we could look and say, there's still a little bit of season left. Like, we still could potentially make playoffs. Like, we're still in the running for playoffs. Maybe this team just gets better and better with this roster. Like, can we be okay with this loss? I'm asking you, T1 fans. I think we can.
I mean, if they play like that against a lot of the other teams, they're going to have success. So that's, I think, a good starting point at least. But we have the analyst desk ready, so I'm going to hand it over to G-Sun for the translation.
Thank you very much, guys. And Damwon Kia continues their winning streak up against T1. This time around, we had a lot of off-meta picks on the mid lane. But together, a lot of new picks coming in. This time around, Damwon Kia was able to answer back to T1's comp with Seraphine on the mid lane. So they also banned out Lilia, a champion that was having a great time on the T1 side in game 1 and 2. And usually we see a lot of Orianna rise coming, Orianna and Azir coming out, but this time around Azir and Orianna was banned out in the second rotation, and then the mid lane pick was actually Seraphine and Ryze. It was really impressive or odd to see that Seraphine was not picked in the first rotation of the pick because this champion is too OP, and we saw that in this game again. And Ryze is actually climbing up the ladder with the mythic item synergy with the Everfrost. Now he has multiple tools to lend some crowd control, but still outside of the Ryze ability as a champion, I think still T1 has a very hard comp that has to play around the side lane with Ryze and Camille. That macro is not too easy to pull off, and we were worried about those mid-game and late-game map play. And as we all expected, Damwon Kia answered back with fights into T1's comp really well. Yes, especially we had a lot of posturing around the map between Damwon Kia and T1, and we had a lot of close fights, but Burl was always there to turn it around. This was a very dicey one for Damwon Kia. Burl found the huge engage onto 3 of the Damwon Kia players, and then GP gets caught out from the beginning. But Ryze, he has this weakness. He cannot put damage onto the backline when the carriers have the shield that can tank the abilities. And also right here, Beryl stuns or knock off so many players that came in for that second engage with the Ryze ult, but that was actually a well served, maybe a dish on a silver platter for Damwon Kia just to collect. Because we saw the result, we can say that decision was bad, and that kind of play should not be accepted. But when we were watching that in the point, well, we also thought that could be a viable play with the Ryze ult. But maybe we can just put it, Beryl turned it around really well with his CC combo. As you mentioned, we saw the weakness of Ryze and his ultimate. So let's take a look at the second play with another teleport with the Ryze ult. So we had a lot of Baron dances or Dragon dances in this game. So T1 went in aggressively to end the game. So they went all in with this Ryze ult, but we all know that Damwon Kia has a lot of tools to interrupt this kind of approach. T1 did take a side lane comp, but they already lost 3 Drakes, so they were forced to take the soul fight. So T1 was not able to find the perfect and idealistic answer to deal with that situation. With this Game 3 victory, Damwon Kia is closing out the night, and POG will go over to Burl and Alistar. Or we can now call it Burlstar, because he was just so good on this cow. Cute little heart on his fingers, and he had a massive work with this champion. And at level 3, actually, they had to trade flashes, so Beryl was able to punish that point as well. And also, he just pushed Owner again and then used Pulverize onto Ryze. The way he allocates his ability is really on point. He just doesn't really go like always pulverize anyone. He just like find the right target to zone out. If I were the T1 player, I would also take that Ryze ult. That could be a game changer for T1 as well. 7 out of 9 votes for Burl's POG for Game 3 on Alistar. Damwon Kia also dropped their ball in the middle of the game, but still they were not falling apart. They still remained focused, and they were able to come back and take away the game in the end. So let's invite Ghost Burl for this POG inner with the bottom duos of Damwon Kia. Hello, congratulations on your win.
안녕하세요.
Hello, thank you.
네, 담원기아 오늘 오늘 9연승
Damwon Kia, this is your 9th consecutive win in the LCK, consolidating your spot on the first place. How was today's match, Ghost?
오늘 경기는
Today,
쉽지 않을 거라고 생각을 했는데
I expected
그래도
this match would not be easy,
이겨서 기분 좋습니다.
but I'm glad that we won.
축하드립니다. 베릴 선수도 소감 들어볼게요.
And Burrow,
오늘
today,
세트 때 좀 더 정교하게 좀 했으면 좀
if we
괜찮았을 것
played
같은데 좀
a
저희가
lot
실수가
better in
많아가지고
game 2,
세트까지
things
가기
could have
좀
been a lot
아쉬운 것
better,
같아요.
you know, but we made too many mistakes, so I'm a little bit bummed. However, you were able to pop off an Alistar in game 3, but back to Ghost. This is your third POD interview in a row. And a lot of people are saying that you are ramping up compared to the beginning of the split. Do you also agree?
열심히 연습하다 보니까 폼이
I was
올라온 것 같습니다.
practicing really hard, so I was able to improve. What do you think about that, Burl?
용준이가 이제 처음에는 좀 많이 헤매고
In the beginning,
그런 게 많았었는데
Ghost
이제
took
또
some time
팀원들이랑
to
이제
kind of
감독
find the
코치분들도
grasp,
다 도와주시고
but
이제
teammates and
용준이도
coaching
혼자
staff
많이 열심히
were
노력하기
helping
때문에
him out,
그런 게
and
이제
he also worked
같이
really
가야
hard.
되겠다
So I think
생각해요.
he's now. This is his time to shine.
되게 그냥 빈말 같은 가벼운 칭찬이 아니라 되게 진지하게.
A very serious answer coming out from Burrow, actually, to kind of tell us about the story how Ghost was able to make a huge process. And Senna, I think this is your signature pick, and it looked so strong. So I guess a lot of teams will start bending it away. But today you played it with Maokai support. So Burrow, could you elaborate about the Senna Maokai duo?
마오카이가 너프가 좀 많이 당했었는데
Maokai
이게
got nerfed a
결국
lot.
너프 마오카이의
But
2선마
still,
저격이라서
that was targeted to
그냥
Emax
탱커
Maokai.
서포트는
So
똑같이
still,
그냥
the tank
QW
supports
찍으면 만화가 별로 안 딸리기
can
때문에
do a lot of
그냥
work, and
그런 것
they
때문에
never
했던 것
lack
같아요.
mana if you max Q and W actually. I have a related question about this. I thought you guys were targeting the Lucian Yumin comp with Maokai.
이제
Can you see
정화영이
Super Saiyan as well?
사이언을 좀 잘하기 때문에 아마
Well, Khan is
사이언은
way
정화영이
better
하지 않았을까 싶어요.
on Cyan.
그러면 루시안 유미 대 세나 마오카이에서 이제
So for Lucian Yumi and Senna Maokai, you guys were able to, you know, take the first blood. You held it on to that moment when Yumi dropped out of the AD carry, and then you took the CC.
그냥 시작할 때부터 뭐
From the beginning,
구도라고
I
생각하고
thought the
있었는데
lane matchup wasn't too hard
좀
for
많이
us,
나와 있어서
but Yumi was overextended, so Barrel
이거보다 이렇게
said, let's just go for this, and we were able to lock down the kill.
유미가 죽는 모습은 항상 저희가 뭔가 감정이 이렇게 입이 되다 보니까 네 그런 부분이
It
있었던
was
것
really nice to
같습니다.
see that play coming out from
사실 그래서 1세트
the bottom duos of Damwon Kia.
전반적으로 또 멋진
So in game 1, we had a lot of fancy and stylish combats and fights. But I have a question about Kayn from Damwon Kia. Kayn is a champion that is good into Lilia. This champion can do a lot of things, but still, Kayn does not have a huge success in the LCK. Could you tell us more about Kayn, please?
저희도 사실 오늘 경기하면서 좀 혼란스럽긴
Today we were also confused by Kayn.
이게 연습
I mean,
때라 더 잘 나오는 건지 아니면 오늘 좀
maybe it's
공부가
because
긴장을
Screams,
해서
because
그런 건지
we have
모르겠는데 이제
good results in Scream.
Kayn
Maybe
자체는
Kenyon was
나쁘지
feeling a
않은
little bit
킬이라고 생각을 했어요.
nervous because it's competitive match, but Kayn itself was not doing bad in Scrims. I can say that for sure. However, Nautilus and Lilia were too powerful in game 2. So you guys fell to T1. So what kind of feedback did Goma give you guys after that game?
그냥 제가 라인전에서
I just
실수했던 것
made
때문에
mistake
저희가 바텀이
in the laning
그
phase.
푸시가
That's why
유지해야
we
되는데
lost
한번
the push
계속
priority.
뺏기니까
And
좀
once we
게임이
lose that
이상해졌다고 하신
control,
것 때문에
the game was
딱히
like
없고 바로 다음
gone.
경기에
So
준비했던
that
것
was
같아요.
the focal point from the Coma's feedback.
그리고 그걸 기반으로 이제는 다음 경기에서
And you guys were able to come back stronger with this Alistar support. And Rel is actually getting countered by Alistar currently. It's actually 5-9 in favor of Alistar. We are seeing a lot of Rel first picks, so could you elaborate that champion matchup?
저는 그냥
I think it's 50-50 actually. Rao is really strong in lane. She has agenda to attack the opponent. So I'm pretty sure it's 50-50. The one plays better just wins. So we are seeing some upset with the champion matchup with the proficiency increasing throughout the split, and Rise was the mid lane pick for T1 in game 3. But you were doing a fantastic work marking that Rise and zoning him away from Damwon Kia. Had it not for the play, this could have been a very dicey play for Damwon, right? But Samira was like coming forward with the S rank stacking, but on the upper side of the map, actually our players made a call that they got Rise. I was thinking that was a huge relief. Bro, so did you kind of consider that Rise will come over, so did you save onto that Q? Held onto that Q? That was not intentional. I just got interrupted by Rel's E. So my combo got interrupted. So I had my Q up, so I was able to actually use it on Rise. And we have a question about that mid lane counterplay into Rise ultimate. I think Khan in the end also said he was flustered to see that happen. Ghost, what was happening exactly? So we were trying to raise the mid lane outer turrets, but we had to do it without the Rel's skill sets, but Rel had all the skills up, so it was a bad fight for us to take, so we were in a very rough spot. And then Rise actually ulted in, but I was able to get all the HP back with the healing from the Moonstone Renewer. Bro, how were you able to react so fast to that ulti? Did you expect that? Well, none of our skills were up, so I didn't really needed to mark Rel. And I saw Camille going for the hook shot, so I held it on until she came in. And I thought, if I can just block her, well, we will not lose anything. So I was keeping my eyes on the rest of the T1 players who were trying to collapse onto our side. But the game was really close, going back and forth. One slight misclick can decide the result of the game. A mistake of millimeters could decide the game. So when was the moment you guys realized you had the game for sure? When T1 went in with the Rise ult on the mid lane team fight, I was able to just scoop up a lot of kills. So I was pretty sure that we are in a huge control. Bro, do you agree? Are you on the same page? Yeah. We were in a bit of a lead, but we got greedy with the mid lane outer turret, so that was a very risky moment for us, but we were actually was able to win the jackpot maybe. Your next opponent will be Africa Freaks, and if you guys win that match, it's gonna be your 10th win in a row. Just like we did so far, we will prepare hard in order to continue our winning streak and have a good atmosphere in and outside of our team. Hope to see you again for the POG interview and Burl. These days, watching Africa's match, I think they are slowly warming up. So we are going to prepare hard in order to get the win. So this will be the end of the interview from the bottom duos of Damwon Kia, and I'm going to pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ji-sun, for the wonderful translation of that analyst desk and interview, of course. Good to hear from Beryl and Ghost, as we oftentimes do on the side of Damwon Kia. And yeah, that's a big win for them to take. And we're going to take a look actually quickly at the play of the day right now.
Yeah, what's it going to be? Is it going to be the Alistair play? Is it going to be from Series 1?
Yes.
Okay. Barrelister is coming to get ya.
Barrelister.
I mean, insane plays from this guy all series long, but in this in this final game, like, he's just insane. So he had a really nice start up to the beginning of this fight, and then he just continues to make the plays. Like, he actually started this fight off with a pull, and he ends it when they decide to go in. Zeus is like, I'm going in, Barrels.
Perfect timing. Like, there's a reason why this guy made a name for himself on Alistair, right? Barrelster is a real thing in this world. Just great play all the way through, and especially in this game.
Yeah. Like, he's like, nope, going in. And then the more impressive one is the defensive one he has, right?
Oh, there's a defensive one right over there as well.
And then, like, when they decide to go all in under the turret, he's like, wait a second.
Whoa.
He might have said different words when in the moment, but boom, flash in. Don't worry, we don't say bad words on the LCK.
Yeah. Wolf never says.
Barrel might have said bad words
bad
in the
words.
comms, but I've never cursed in my life.
Wolf never does that. Yeah.
It's been a good day of League of Legends.
It has.
My brain is a little broken.
In a good way. Yeah, Barrel, he absolutely deserved that player of the game at the end of the day. Although Canyon also had a great game as well.
Let's take a look at the standings here, because, you know, that matchup against Afrika is going to be certainly interesting later on, but this loss for T1 still has them in top 5. They only end up losing one game score from this, because it was a 2-1 for Dom 1 Kia. And, you know, they and KT Rolster are really only threatened by Afrika at this point. And Afrika is looking very good. They had a great win yesterday. So that's something you're a little bit worried about. But I think if you're T1, you're still feeling pretty confident that you're heading into playoffs here.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I'm glad you mentioned Afrika, because Afrika's win over KT was really one-sided. And that's kind of why we're looking at them right now instead of KT. As you can see over here, Gen Z versus Afrika will be our first match tomorrow, and then Live Sandbox versus Nongshim Red Force will finish off the night. Well, that will be brought to you by Atlas and Chronicler tomorrow.
Those are pretty good series tomorrow, actually.
Yeah.
Second one for different reasons, I think, than the first one, but I think Afrika certainly could upset against Gen G, and then that second one is, you know, if Nongshim ends up messing that up, they could end up falling down to the bottom of the standings. I think not just from that loss alone, but, like, they could be on their way.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it was a great day of League of Legends. The day did absolutely not disappoint. Thank you once again, Wolf, for joining me, and thank you guys for watching once again. We'll see you tomorrow for more of the LCK. Have a good night.